I want to thank you all for coming today. Last couple of weeks we've been talking about growing ever so closer to the Lord and what that means. I know I did the little comedy one there a couple of weeks ago, and y'all liked that, I hope. Then after that I followed it up with the sin thing, and y'all hated that, so we're going to go a different route today. If you were all to ask God one question, what would it be?
Why can't I win the lotto?
Oh, no.
That question was asked to me by a seminary professor 100 years ago, back when I was in seminary. And, you know, me, being the idiot that I am, I asked, they said, well, Mr. Channer, have you got a question? What would you ask God? I said, well, I would ask him, God, can you make a rock so big that even you can't pick it up? And I was told, don't be an idiot. And I said, well, you know, you got to go with your strength, and that's what I'm best at. One of the most controversial pieces of Scripture is this one we read this morning. Paul is writing to Timothy, a man who is just about to chunk everything. He had it. He had been beaten up and slandered and made fun of and pushed around and shoved out a window in every possible way. And he says, you know, this ministry stuff just is not worth it. This God stuff, this Jesus stuff, I'm not having a good time here. Now, you got to remember, Timothy was a young man, and Paul, of course, likewise had a pretty tough life. But nevertheless, he's trying to write 2 letters to Timothy. This is his second one. And encourage Timothy, before he chucks all this stuff, to truly consider what it is he might be throwing away. And he writes an interesting verse that has confounded theologians for centuries. And it says, he writes to Timothy, it says, for truly I'm telling you, this is a trustworthy statement. Well, what is that? Paul's trying to encourage the young guy that's downtrodden, sees that everything is hopeless. And he writes, just know this is a trustworthy statement. For if we indeed have died with Jesus, then we shall also live with him. God said that. If we endure this world, this life, then we shall also reign with him in the next life. It's a trustworthy statement, for God said that in the Scriptures. If we deny him, Jesus also said this, if we chunk him, in other words, he'll also deny us, chunk us. For if we are faithless, our faith gets a little weak, a little beat up, and we find ourselves turning away, remember that Jesus remains faithful. He cannot deny or contradict himself, his own word. What does that mean for us? It's not we can't deny ourselves. We do that all the time. It's not we can't contradict ourselves. Yeah, we do that all the time. But in God, he cannot deny or contradict himself. What does that mean for us? We're going to look at that this morning in terms of, or in light of, the three of the great biblical promises. And we're going to study that. But first I want you to stand up one final time, stretch a little.